out snowboarding for the first time, and it kicked my ass.
How was it?
It was fun.
Are you hip sore?
What?
Your hips sore?
Are you hip sore? My whole body hurt so bad, and I wiped out so hard so many times. I just couldn't figure it out.
Where did you snowboard?
At Eldora Resort, which is in Nederland.
Okay.
Like, it was fun. I've always wanted to do it, and I used to skateboard. I know it's not skateboarding, but I thought I would have caught on to it quicker than I did. And I want to try it again, though, with an instructor and when it's less busy, because the place was so busy.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think if I go again, I'll do skiing, because that was the same story. So we did it for a meet and greet, and Natasha and I were going down like the easy slope, and neither one of us could get it. And then when I thought I got it, like I made it all the way down to the slope, and I was like, yes, I'm going to try it again. And then I'd fall like 5 times. And
You just
then,
use a lot of muscles you don't think you would use.
Yeah.
Practice.
Your
Especially for
body.
snowboarding.
Yeah.
It's just heel to toe.
That's
Like, and it takes your brain like 3 days to figure that out.
yeah.
Then once you get it, you got it. Actually, my
wanna
buddy
use your-
lives in Netherlands. He's an instructor up there.
Okay.
Now I got
So-
the hookup.
You got to hook up.
there you go.
So I was talking to my singer about snowboarding, and then we'll get into the murder. But I was talking to her about it, and she said that when she took lessons, her instructor told her to kind of like how you were just standing, like, you know, you got to balance yourself on the board, and it's just like heel to toe. But her instructor said, act like you're peeing on a campfire, and you just kind of like lean forward a little bit.
Yeah, it's
But you
kind of
don't
true.
want to fall in.
It's kind of true.
So
Now I
Nolan,
will
you're
that
thinking about this
visual
way too
will
hard.
never leave my brain.
I crashed into a tree once.
Oh no!
Rough.
Don't do that.
Did you have a helmet?
Yeah, but it just hit my leg. I just couldn't walk for like a week.
Ouch.
It was the day after New Year's.
It was fun and frustrating at the same time.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Healthcare Horrors. My name is Alicia Carasella, a training and development specialist.
I'm Ashley Boyce, a brand specialist here at Atlas, where we staff travel nurses.
Hey, I'm Dolan, and I'm on the knobs.
This is Eric Stapp, and I'm a recruiter here.
I would love if the boys could join the conversation. The boys are looking at something on a phone.
Yeah, there's a weird text
What are you
message.
doing?
Yeah, I just got a really weird text. Do you guys want to hear
Yes. From a traveler?
it? No, it's just from a random person. 669 area code. I don't even know what that is. Says, how's it going? I'm here. I said, who is this? Good afternoon. Are you Millie? I said, nope. Then they said, I'm sorry, Melise is my new yoga instructor. I got the wrong number. My name is Tina. I said, sounds good. Thank you. You're fine. Do you sound American? Because I lived here for 5 years. That's it. So I just showed Dolan. That's what we were doing.
That was the text message.
No, but I love that you keep responding.
Oh, I'll keep it going. Don't worry about that. I'm
Oh,
easily
yeah.
entertained.
It's the same thing I do on Instagram. Like for the band Instagram. Here, I'll pull one up. It's pretty funny. So I got promoted on Nebraska Fams. And then I said, I actually did once, and then I shut my finger in the microwave. And then this one's promoted on Nebraska Fams. Same, but no underscore. I said, the weird thing is the Peanuts actually made it across the bridge to tell us the secret to cooking up amazing bangers and food.
No response from
But
them?
no response. But
Wow.
if you want to read funny responses,
You like trolling, don't you, Dolan?
I love it.
Perfect.
Well, today we're not here to talk about trolls. We're here to talk about murderers. And more specifically, Jack the Ripper.
Jack the Ripper.
But last time we talked about the Rugeley poisoner, Dr. William Palmer. And Eric Stapp is back at it today, joining us. What's up?
Not much. Couldn't get enough.
Yep, couldn't get enough. I love it.
Had to stay for a week. Did you just sit in the studio for a week waiting for us?
It was 2 weeks.
I did.
2 weeks?
It was 2 weeks.
It was 2 weeks.
He's like, guys,
It's been a good time.
want to
Yeah.
do this again? I'm just going to wait for you here.
I mean, the Wino Wednesday liquor card is in here, so.
It is. I see that. I see some Jameson over there.
Or Tipsy Recruiter,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
sometimes.
What did you say? Wino
Wino
Wednesday?
Wednesday, yeah.
It's close enough.
Should we? Do you guys dig into that during this? Is that allowed?
Every
Sometimes.
now and
Yeah.
Every
then.
now and then, yeah.
Depends on
sometimes-
Alicia's mood.
Not my mood.
I think I had some Busch Lights in the fridge.
Oh.
Unless somebody drank them all.
You're slacking.
No.
Sometimes we come in here and it just smells like liquor.
Or beer.
After the beer
A beer with Alice.
podcast. Ashley and I walk in here and we're like, whoa, clearly they recorded today. Don't
Just
even need to
a
drink it. I can smell it.
Wall
Right.
of beer. You know, last time we recorded though, or last time we went to lunch beforehand and had a beer at Cunningham's. That was nice.
It was nice.
We should do that more often.
We really should.
Yeah.
It's good.
We'll bring Stapp next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, just let us know. You don't have to sit in the studio for 2 weeks, man.
Yeah.
Don't
I
make
didn't
it
know any
weird.
You're allowed to leave and just be here on a Wednesday.
Dolan won't let me leave.
No.
Threatened me. It's gotten kind of weird. I still think I like him, but
It's getting weird.
He's in
Just like-
charge of the meet and greet, so we
he
gotta-
slides me, food under the door.
He just peers at you through the window.
Yeah,
No,
I gotta
Like,
check
do you
on
want
him,
out
yeah.
or no?
Do you want out? Do you want to go outside today?
All right.
Wow.
Anyways,
This
we are
went weird real quick.
off the rails. Okay, we're going to talk about Jack the Ripper. We're going to
Yes.
dive into it, boys and girls. Boys.
Ladies and gentlemen,
All right.
ladies.
Okay, so I'm going to give a little bit of background on what is going on at the time and kind of set the scene. So, in the mid 19th century, England experienced an influx of Irish immigrants who swelled the populations of major cities, including the East End of London. From 1882, Jewish refugees fleeing from Tsarist, Russia, and the other areas of Eastern Europe emigrated into the same area. The parish of Whitechapel in the East End became increasingly overcrowded, with the population increasing to 80,000 people by 1888. The work and the housing conditions were terrible, and a significant economic underclass developed. 55% of children born in the East End died before they were 5 years old. So there was a ton of robbery, violence, and alcohol dependency, and poverty drove many women to prostitution just to survive on a regular basis. So in October of 1888, London's Metropolitan Police Service estimated that there were about 62 brothels and around 1,200 women working as prostitutes in Whitechapel, with approximately 8,500 people residing in the 233 common lodging houses within Whitechapel every night. So this place is packed.
Yeah. I didn't think there were that many people. Holy crap.
Yeah, and the nightly cost for sleeping in a bed was 4 pence, and the cost of sleeping upon a lean-to rope stretched across a dormitory were 2 pence a person. So kind of like a hammock, but less.
I love sleeping in a hammock. Sorry.
No, hammocks are great.
It's one of my favorite pastimes of summer.
Like, yeah, and go outside right now. So the economic problems in Whitechapel were accompanied by a rise in social tensions between 1886 and 1889. Frequent demonstrations led to police intervention and public unrest, such as Bloody Sunday. Anti-Semitism, crime, nativism, racism, social disturbance, and severe deprivation influenced people's public perceptions that Whitechapel was a notorious den of immorality. Such perceptions were strengthened in the fall of 1888 when a series of vicious and grotesque murders attributed to Jack the Ripper received unprecedented coverage in the media.
So, Jack the Ripper, we obviously don't know a lot about his background because we don't really know who he is. The only thing we really do know that he or she was believed to be a doctor or a surgeon due to the murders and the whole MO. So there were 5 women known as the Canonical Five, or what did you say, the Whitechapel
The
Five?
Whitechapel Five, or also the Canonical Five, which is it's like a church type of church law.
Okay.
I looked this up last night because I was like, what does that mean? I will just do it again
Yes, enlighten
so
us.
I can explain.
Do you know what canonical is, Eric?
Sounds
Enlighten us.
biblical
Yeah,
in
right?
nature or numerical.
So
I
it's
don't know.
called according to or ordered by canon law, the canonical rites of the Roman Church.
Interesting. Okay. So,
Included in the list of sacred books officially accepted as genuine, the canonical Gospels of the New Testament.
and the only reason that these 5 women were linked together is because of how they were killed, how they were mutilated, and how they were basically just left out in the open for anyone to find. So the first victim, or at least first believed victim, was Mary Ann Nichols, and her body was found August 31st, 1888, by someone on a horse-drawn carriage in the wee hours of the morning. I believe it was like 3 a.m. or something, and they just noticed a body laying in the middle of the road. And it was too dark to really tell if she was dead or not. So they reached out to authorities, and once authorities arrived on the scene, they noticed that her throat was slit to near decapitation, amongst other wounds. Her genitalia and abdomen were brutally mutilated with something very clean and precise, like a scalpel.
Basically, they concluded that all of her wounds were caused by someone who was right-handed.
Okay, interesting.
And all of the wounds had been inflicted in a downward thrusting manner.
Okay. So yeah, it was, in addition to that, it was just clear that this person had a clear understanding of human anatomy and where to puncture, also to kill someone quickly, just go for the throat. So these deaths are all very close together. So only a week later, another body is found, September 8th. This was a widow named Annie Chapman, and her body was found again in the middle of the street with similar wounds, along with something a little new. So with each murder, there is something a little new. Like he or she takes it one step further. This time, her intestines and other organs were removed from her body, but like her intestines were still attached to her, though. But
He put them above her right shoulder.
Yeah, he would arrange the body parts in certain ways around his victims, basically like decorated the scene, it sounds like.
Real weird. Mm-hmm. And he also removed part of her uterus and bladder. And
Yes.
I'm motioning genitalia.
Yeah. In addition to her organs and intestines being laid out around her, there was also a piece of a leather apron left to kind of play off the media's name for him after the first murder, which was Leather Apron. How clever.
So creative.
Leather Apron. I mean, at least Leatherface sounds more scary.
I was just thinking that. Isn't that from American Horror Story?
No.
What is that from?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Great movie.
Oh.
The first one was a great movie.
The very first, like, original? You didn't like the one
Was
with
that based off Ed Gein? Speaking of serial killers, because he used to make like lamps out of human skin.
I don't know.
I think it was. I think the guy that made Texas Chainsaw Massacre might actually live in Omaha.
Weren't the Sawyers... Okay, well, now I'm going to sound stupid. I thought the Sawyers might have been real people, but I don't know for sure. Anyway.
Next
know.
episode.
Next episode, we can do a deep dive into Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm all about it. Okay. So, coroners confided in each other that the killer was most definitely a trained medical professional by knowing where and what to cut. The hysterectomy, for example, of the woman, just how precise the person was in carrying out that. And then the instruments that were not just available to the public. These were definitely medical instruments with very precise cuts and certain cuts. So authorities at this point are definitely stumped with no suspects, but to help ease the public's mind, they do make 5 arrests of men in professions of like butchers and barbers.
Well, there was a witness. Let's talk about Annie Chapman here.
Okay.
So right before she's murdered, a woman named Elizabeth Long described having seen Annie standing outside 29 Hanbury Street at about 5:30 a.m. in the company of a dark-haired man wearing a brown deerstalker hat and a dark overcoat, and he was of a shabby, genteel appearance. And according to this witness, the man that Annie was standing with asked the question, "Will you?" To which she replied, "Yes." And then that's the end of the interaction.
Okay.
And then at 6 a.m., someone finds her.
So I've been Googling the canonical thing this whole time, and I figured it out.
Okay.
So they're known as the Canonical Five because canonical is applied so what I've got is the adjective canonical is applied in many contexts to mean according to the canon. And what canon is like a broad general principle. So like it's a rule. So Canonical Five means, or we've dubbed them the Canonical Five because we don't actually know who Jack the Ripper is. So it's not actually fair to say that all 5 of the murders were done by the same person.
Okay.
So they're the Canonical Five because by context, they're so so similar that we're relating to them or relating them to the same murderer. So the term Canonical Five just means we're pretty sure they were killed by the same person, and we think it was this person, but we're only saying that because that's just a broad consensus that we've made. So that's really all that means. We don't have a lot of words like that in English, where it's just like a broad sense. Like English is very descriptive, and a lot of languages, they have words that are very broad, so it's hard to wrap our minds around it, right? But that's what it means.
Our ding-dong American brains. Thanks, Dolan.
Thanks, Dolan. Rad.
Solve that mystery.
All right, let's move on to the next one. So media names, again, Leather Apron and also Whitechapel murderer. So how did he get Jack the Ripper? Do you know how he got the name Jack the Ripper?
I don't.
You don't? Okay. So Jack enjoyed toying with the police and would send in letters to let them know that he loved what he was doing, he loved his work, and that he was going to mutilate a next victim and how he was going to do it or what specifically he was going to do this time. And he would just sign it Jack the Ripper. So he gave that name to himself.
And he was sending those into like Scotland Yard. Didn't he send in like a couple kidneys or part of? Okay.
He did send some body parts to some people.
There is a theory that the letters by Jack the Ripper were written by journalists to get more sensation in the media.
Yeah, there was that too. So it was like, was Jack the Ripper really sending in letters and then a whole bunch of other people sending in random letters, or did he not send anything at all? But that's an interesting one. Like maybe he didn't give himself that name at all.
A lot of theories here.
Lots of theories around this one. Something to note, though, is that at least with the first letter or the letters that we know were from the same person, Jack the Ripper, his grammar was really bad and the spelling was really bad, too. So, I mean, I don't know. You'd think if someone is a doctor, they would have a better understanding of reading and writing.
Have you ever seen a doctor write a prescription?
That's true. It's just chicken scratch.
Horrible.
Or maybe he was an immigrant, but he was a surgeon or a doctor.
Maybe.
Because there were,
Different country. Yeah.
like you stated earlier, there were a lot of immigrants coming in.
Yep.
True.
A lot of Irish. I think there was a big Jewish population settling in there. And I think you maybe said some Russians. So
That's true.
who knows?
So maybe they just didn't know the language or how to spell things. That's another theory.
Or they were drunk.
Like everyone
everybody
else. So the next two victims were found on the same night of September 30th. Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes, aka Kate, were found posed in completely different streets with the usual MO of a cutthroat, and like was stated in the letter sent into authorities, the ears were either completely cut off or almost sliced off. So Elizabeth's body wasn't quite fully dissected, which suggests that someone else was there and Jack was interrupted and basically couldn't finish the job. So he wanted to finish the job, so he found another victim, Catherine. And Catherine was actually seen alive just like 10 minutes before being found dead, which was kind of astonishing because of how quickly
He did all that?
yeah, how quickly he was able to cut her throat and remove her kidneys, which I guess is a very tedious, long process. Just not
Not if
something you
you're
can
Jack.
just do. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, this guy was probably so smart and could have done so much good in the world.
Could have, but he chose not to.
Chose not to. So there was another witness that gave authorities a description of a man seen with Catherine. And I think it was just kind of the same description as before, like average build, average size, like mid-30s.
Shabby.
Yeah, maybe a mustache. So Jack submits some other letters to the media along with some potential copycats. Or maybe they're all copycats. I guess we don't know. So a little over a month later, November 9th, is the last known victim, Mary Jane Kelly, whose body is actually not discovered in a street, but discovered in a bedroom of an inn or whatever.
The single room where she lived.
So her body was definitely the most mutilated out of all of them, given he had more time and privacy to quote unquote operate. So her throat was slit, her nose and ears were completely removed. Her organs were removed and put like in a circle around her. Her uterus, kidney, and both breasts were removed, and flesh from her thighs and abdomen were just kind of lying around the room. And her heart was nowhere to be found. Yikes.
That's almost like a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Are there any theories on Jack the Ripper being like a religious
Not that
fanatic
I've
for
heard.
like targeting? I mean, I think some of them were prostitutes. One was a widow, but I don't know. Maybe
That's interesting. I've never heard that theory, that it could have been something religious or sacrificial.
I think it was just a dirty man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I say man because this is not typically the type of crime a woman
Yeah.
commits.
A lot of the ladies usually do poisoning. It's easier,
Unless
less to clean up.
brutality.
Yeah.
Are there theories around Jack the Ripper being female?
Absolutely. But okay, so 3 days after Mary Jane Kelly's found, authorities do get a lead from someone who saw Mary Jane with a man wearing a top hat, the usual average build, mid-30s. So there's not really much to go off of with these leads. So Whitechapel is kind of in a panic, although the Jack the Ripper murders cease at this point. Townspeople at one point do try taking matters into their own hands, and they kind of form like a vigilante committee. So George Lusk was the president of this vigilante committee, and he actually did receive a package that had one of Catherine's kidneys in it, and it was addressed to him specifically by name, and it also said "From Hell" on the box.
Wow.
I still don't know what happened to Mary Jane's heart, though.
That it doesn't. I don't think
Yeah.
it says. And also, he is potentially responsible for a ton of other murders, not just these 5.
Yeah, so there's that, too, that it definitely could have been way more, but there's just none of them like this that are this clean and surgical. Following Jack the Ripper's deaths, there were more women found dead in the street, probably copycats, but the MO just wasn't the same. And even before the first victim, there were ladies
being attacked,
found stabbed in the stomach or in the abdomen, but just nothing was as clean. So it could have been Jack the Ripper, it could have been someone else.
But then there's like, didn't they stop? Like this specific type of murders, I think, stopped for a bit.
Yeah, it was just those 5 that were killed that way.
Yeah.
So, and I also like, it just makes me wonder, like, why? I don't know, like, why just those 5? Why stop?
Probably moved away. Or died.
Well, there's speculation up to 9, right? Like, murders. I read somewhere, Jack the Ripper's like anywhere from 2 to 9 for sure have been ruled connected, but like the 5 definitely are like too similar to.
Yeah.
It's interesting. To connect an older episode, didn't we do somebody that is speculated to?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I was going to talk about him a little bit.
Oh, well, let's get into it.
Before we do, like, law enforcement's also, maybe they were drunk, but law enforcement's
good chance. Real good chance.
Real good chance. They were also very sloppy when handling a lot of these crime scenes. I don't know if it's because there was speculation that they were all prostitutes or some of them were prostitutes, that maybe that's why they didn't handle the crime scenes well, but or they were just lazy. But a lot of the women's bodies were like cleaned before the autopsy, and you'd think you'd want to
leave things the way they are so you can do it proper.
Yeah, to see if there's any sort of fluids or anything to look for or any other evidence, you know. So, yeah, that really wasn't an option.
I mean, this was one of the poor sections of town, too,
That's
right?
true, yeah. So they just, again, and it's sad, the sex workers and poor communities, they just don't care. These murders clearly led to a lot of books, movies. There are fans of Jack the Ripper called Ripperists that are obsessed with this case and the whole mystery and wanting to figure out who it was. So in a previous episode, we did talk about Thomas Neal Cream.
Yeah. Thomas Neal Cream.
Dr. Cream.
We
You're welcome.
are not mature enough. Again, we said the same thing the last time.
Just got to remind people.
Dr. Cream. Anyway.
Yes. So he was one doctor who was from Canada, and he was known for poisoning sex workers. And that was also his main clientele. He did do a lot of like botched abortions, poisoned sex workers, saying it was
not
birth
like
control.
women.
Yeah, didn't like women. He did eventually travel to the US, and he did eventually travel to London. He fits the physical description. He also, while he was in Canada, wrote letters to the media, and he had poor grammar and spelling. And also, when he was eventually caught and hung in Canada, his final words were, "I am Jack." So, was he really in London, though? Because, this was happening in 1888, and at that time, like September, like around that time, Thomas Neal Cream was in jail, or at least he was supposed to be in jail, and there's a lot of speculation that he like paid authorities off to get out early, or he had a look-alike in jail for him and was really just like out in the world in London. So that is one of the many theories that people are talking about, and we did talk about Thomas Neal Cream on a previous episode. So,
yeah.
What do
Real
you got?
mover and shaker there.
Yes, he was all over the place. He's very interesting. You'd probably like him. You should do some digging on him.
Just listen to our episode about it.
Okay. Was Jack the Ripper a doctor? So there have been many books written and more movies made about him than any other murderer in history. And this has been, he's obviously infamous and intriguing, and everybody wants to know. So suspects have run the gamut from barbers, lawyers, authors to doctors. However, Jack the Ripper may have finally been identified, according to a UK businessman who privately funded an investigation into the 19th century case, and it turns out he does not believe the killer was a doctor, but a 23-year-old Polish immigrant named Aaron Kosminski.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't know.
What else? Wasn't there a piece of fabric with that case, or was that a different?
Might have been somebody else.
Okay, yeah, there was another theory.
There's a lot of theories.
It was something about an auction, and one of the victims' like shawls was up for auction or something.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Hold on, you're right. There was more. Hold on. I forgot about that part. Thank you.
Yeah.
Same person. This Aaron Kosminski ended up dying in an insane asylum, and there was someone who was always captivated by murder mystery, and his name was Edwards, and had been investigating the crime in his spare time, but he came to the conclusion that it would never be solved. But in 2007, he came across a shawl found near the body of one of the victims, Catherine Eddowes, and it was up for auction, and it was said that the shawl had been taken from the crime scene by acting Sergeant Amos Simpson, who wanted it for his wife, which is a really weird and fucked up thing to do.
I got this for you, honey. I found this at the store. Made me think of you.
But she never wore it because it was stained with blood, and apparently it's never been washed or worn, period, and it was just passed down through generations until it arrived at the auction. And that is where they got the DNA. It's actually a blood and semen stained shawl. Mm-hmm. And that's where they got the DNA, and they got a hit from one of Kosminski's descendants on probably 23andMe. Yeah.
Gross.
And that's that. But it's never been verified by any scientists or it's not in any peer-reviewed journals or anything like that. So it's just this guy saying, I mean, it's probably gross, but is the DNA on that still any good?
Yeah, I don't know.
I assume it's not been carefully handled.
Right. Yeah. As far as the theories of Jack the Ripper being a lady, there's just speculation that around this time there were a lot of midwives, and midwives are there to help the families bring the babies into the world, so they are familiar enough with anatomy of a lady, and maybe they have access to certain medical equipment. I don't know.
So I never really ever dug into this story. So I don't really know all the theories surrounding it. It was actually not even until our episode on Thomas Cream, Dr. Cream, where I was like, what? I just thought that oh yeah, Jack the Ripper, there was this killer that was never caught,
Yeah.
I didn't know that there was well, it could have been this person or this person or this person or whatever, but it doesn't surprise me either.
I mean, I would guess it's a male, just because, it's all women.
So
and a lot of them being sex workers, maybe you just hated women. Who knows? There's a lot of weirdos out there.
Yeah.
I would just, I don't know. I think men are more prone to violence and doing things like that than a woman.
Sure.
I mean, that would just kind of shock me.
Yeah.
If it was a woman.
I don't think Thomas Neal Cream checks out because
I think he just wanted the clout.
Yeah. He just wanted the clout for sure. Because when he was, doing his whole medical practice thing in Canada and stuff, he would do abortions. And I don't think he was that great at what he was doing to all of a sudden come over to London and be perfect, precise cuts.
Because he was for sure botching them.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And did anybody then really know what they were doing?
This guy apparently did. But
it's a fantastic question.
Fair.
But it did seem like this person did have some sort of knowledge.
Some medical knowledge for the time.
And you see it with serial killers today. They still go after sex workers, and it's often people
they're
from
easy
the lower
targets.
class, immigrants, things like that. Was there any symbolism in the way that he kind of cut these people up?
Or that he laid organs out or something? Not that I'm aware of.
Or maybe in his own head.
Maybe in his own head. I still think that's interesting that maybe what if there was like a religious or spiritual thing behind it?
I spent a lot of time on something I should have already known. Like when people say, "Oh, seems canon," I'm like, "Oh, duh, canonical seems canon."
People say that.
Yeah, like
I've
given
never
the
heard that.
basic principle of who you are, like would mean that. Oh yeah, seems like that's something you would do, right? Again,
I don't know who you're hanging out with, but
I
canon.
never heard that either.
You know what? I've decided that when I die, my final words are going to be, I know who Jack the Ripper is.
I thought it was going to be I am Jack.
I was thinking about that, but now it's just going to be, I know who Jack the Ripper is.
I think
that's it.
And then you're like, get him out.
Yep.
I think that's perfect.
I don't know who we are talking about next,
It is
though.
a surprise every other time. We'll come up with something good.
Look into one of those books and just give us a name.
are you guys going in a chronological
No.
order?
Hey, big word, chronological.
Okay.
I have an English degree.
And you didn't know what canonical was?
I mean, I said
He said he has an
biblical.
English degree.
Yeah. It did derive from Roman Catholic.
I'm neither one of those.
This is great.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. We'll definitely
if-
have you on here again.
Yeah, if Dolan keeps me locked in this room, I should be
Oh,
here
yeah.
You don't
next
have
week.
an option.
2 more weeks. Yeah. No, I won't do that. I'm feeling nice.
I just watched Silence of the Lambs the other day.
Oh.
Just for fun?
Yeah, I set up a TV so like when I have all my computer screens, like the work
You
can be
watching
tedious. So I
Silence
need
of the Lambs while
entertainment.
working?
So I was watching the Pluto channel because it's free, and then that came up.
Recruiting
and,
doesn't pay enough.
God, that movie's real creepy.
Yeah.
It really is. But he's so good in that movie. What's his name? The actor?
That plays Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why are we blinking on this?
Ah.
Are there any movies about Jack the Ripper?
I'm sure.
ton.
From Hell with Johnny Depp.
A ton.
He's hot. I'm just going to throw it.
Johnny Depp.
He's so hot.
I was at the bar last night,
And you saw Johnny Depp?
Well, I usually go in there to play Jeopardy or watch BattleBots, to watch BattleBots.
What a life you
It's a
live.
new thing. You can come down there tomorrow. I'm getting pizzas. But
What bar?
cork and bottle.
Oh, nice.
And
BattleBots.
that what's the movie called? That guy from Game of Thrones, and then Amber Heard was in it. They're like mermaid. They're like half mermaids. Or I don't know what was going on.
Wow.
Aquaman?
Yeah, that was going on.
Oh.
That's probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Aquaman?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I didn't like it either.
Yeah.
I fell asleep.
When people bring up Game of Thrones, I don't go straight to Momoa. I go straight to Peter Dinklage. 'Cause,
Great actor.
I mean, he's more memorable.
I think this is a perfect time to plug Eric's enhanced bio that is out.
So tell
Perfect.
I'm
people
nervous
to,
about it. I don't like seeing myself on camera
get
or hearing myself.
Oh, well.
I'm
this
probably
is
not going to watch it.
Great place for you to be. You don't like to listen to yourself? Come on the podcast.
Like Tom Hanks, he can't watch his own movies.
yeah.
Ted Levine or Levine?
What?
Ted Levine is
The
the
guy-
actor who plays Buffalo Bill.
Are we sure?
Jodie Foster's in that too.
Wait, yeah.
Anthony. I thought it was Anthony Hopkins.
Frank.
He's in it, too.
Well, that's the guy who plays Hannibal Lecter.
That's what I wanted. That's what.
Oh, I
that's
thought you were
what wanted
talking
to
about
know.
Buffalo Bill.
Buffalo Bill's scary.
Frank Levine or Ted Levine.
We have really gone off the rails.
So if you're a travel nurse and you like true crime, how do they get a hold of you, Eric?
Stapp at atlasmedstuff.com, or they can give me a call. I think it's on the website.
Just
Yeah.
text his phone number. He will reply no matter what you
I
say.
will reply. I
Has
reply to
anyone
people that I
else-
don't even know.
Has that one person said anything else in that weird random
Let's
text?
check. I did get a couple offers.
Hey, you got work to do.
Hey.
Yeah, let him go. He's got to go send out work orders.
No, nothing.
Malia-
Darn.
Just
or
text back
Tina
in.
has not.
Just say, I
gotten
love you,
back to me.
Tina.
Should we call her and put it on speakerphone?
This podcast
Probably
has
will.
become something entirely different.
So
I have an old
amazing.
lady who always calls my phone at least once every other week. And she goes, is this Carol? And I'm like, no, this is not Carol. And she's like, oh, sorry, wrong number. But she's been doing it for like 2 months now.
Aw.
So I don't know.
She's got dementia.
She sounds nice.
All right, on that
right.
note.
Don't do anything Jack the Ripper would do. And we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Murder.
Murder.
Thank you for listening to Healthcare Horrors, brought to you by Atlas MedStaff. Just a reminder, we are not healthcare professionals. We are just fans of true crime, talking about some of history's darkest moments in healthcare. Stay tuned, stay healthy, and stay safe.
Healthcare horrors. Murder.